All right, well, we're live. Well, welcome to Coffee with a Missionary.
Hello.
Welcome to Coffee Missionary. We're so excited to have another chance to spend some time with missionaries all over Latin America and the Caribbean, talking about life, calling, missions, family, whatever else you want to talk about, you viewers who are coming.
And if you missed the last video with a panel of 3 different missionaries on the universities and LAC, Noah's going to show you how to access them under the video section or on YouTube. And if you'd like to listen to audio only while you're driving, while you're doing stuff around the house, you can actually subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, Coffee with a Missionary, and you can catch up on the ones that you've missed.
If you've missed, whoops, I pressed the wrong button. But you can go to LAC World Missions, which is the website for Latin America and the Caribbean. And if you go there under, well, my internet takes a little bit, but lacworldmissions.org is the name of the website. And, oh, it is not working so hot right now. All right. There we go. You can click on exclusives if it works.
This is not LAC's fault. This is our internet.
This is our internet.
Let us be clear.
We're going to just stop doing that because it's confusing. All right. Well, anyway, welcome to all of you who are watching. We're excited to have you tuning in. If you're tuning in live or if you watch this on the replay, just hit like and share this video so that your friends can see it and others who are interested in El Salvador, interested in what it means to step into God's call for your life. You can also hit the follow button at the bottom of this video to get notified every time we go live.
So the theme for LAC for 2019 is New Year, same mission. Same mission. We are so excited to be talking today with Juan and Tracy Orosco, missionaries to El Salvador. Welcome, Juan and Tracy. Thanks for joining us.
Hello.
Thank you.
How are you guys?
We're good. Thank you.
Doing all right over there in Ohio, right?
We are doing good in Ohio. The weather's warm. Yeah.
All right.
Ready?
We're having a little trouble hearing you guys, but it could be our internet too. But anyway, well, why don't you, for those who are watching, and we already have Darren White saying hi. Hi, Darren. But why don't you guys just introduce yourselves and a little bit about who you are?
Hi. My name is Juan Carlos, and I am from Nicaragua originally. And I came to the United States in 2005. Before I came to the United States, I was part of this Master Commission in El Salvador. It's called From King's Castle Ministries. And this is where I met Tracy. And I worked for the ministry for, not work, but I served in the ministry for 3 years, almost.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I'm Tracy, and I previously was a missionary associate in El Salvador for about a year, and then I went back for a couple months, about a year and a half, and met Juan there when he was a student, and then when I came back to the States, we kept being friends, talking, got married 13 years ago, and we've been living here in the States in working our jobs, and we have 2 daughters, Bella, who is 11, and Natasha, who will be 9 next week. And we are excited that God is renewing that call that He put in our hearts many years ago, and is calling us back to work with the people that we love in El Salvador, with King's Castle.
That's awesome. So wait, how long did you guys date for before you got married?
So from when we started talking till we got married was like a little more than a year, I want to say.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was like 2004, like fall, and we got married in November of 2005. So
Was it love at first sight?
Is it allowed to be? No, just kidding.
You're 13 years in, baby. Yes.
Yes. I mean,
Aw.
I think we're good friends, and just working in the ministry, serving together.
Yeah.
We get to know each other, and since we're in El Salvador, and he's from Nicaragua in El Salvador. All the internationals kind of hung out because when everyone could go home, we couldn't.
Sure.
And one of his good friends was one of my best friends, and we just kind of got to know each other, and the rest is history now.
Yeah. Oh, that's so cool.
Well, Juan, I want to say that I am truly impressed at you because you are doing an online Facebook video in your second language. And I would be just terrified if I had to do that, in Spanish. So thank you for being a part of this. And I'm very impressed that you're here.
Spanish and he's English.
You guys will swap. So are you guys nervous to make this family move to El Salvador?
I am.
Yeah.
Because I don't know why, but in the beginning, I thought that we were supposed to go to do missions right away, right? Like at least after 3 years in the United States. But you start working, you start having a house and having a good job and everything. You start kind of like going a different direction. And after that, you kind of lost the track of what you were planning for the future in the ministry. And but recently we started praying about it, and we felt that God is calling us back to the missions. And it was hard to give up what we have. We're still like a little bit nervous about everything, but we put everything in the hands of God. And we know that He called us to do this, and He's gonna take care of it. So.
Yeah. What about you, Tracy? How does that process look like for you?
So for me personally, I can't wait to go just because about 2 years, about a year and a half, 2 years ago, just like hit this peak in my career. I got the position I always wanted, being an officer at this bank and all this. And I was like, I've been working, at that point, 11 years towards that. And I got it, and I was just like, yeah, like it didn't mean anything. And I was really kind of, my phrase that I keep using with people is that I was uncomfortable in my comfortableness. Life was so comfortable. And I was just like, is this it? Like, I'm going to drive to work every day and try to like do this stuff with people's accounts. I'm not like, it's not exciting. It's whatever. And it was just kind of God started reminding me, and we started talking and praying of, hey, remember when it was like 5 years after we get married, Juan gets citizenship and you're out? You're 11 years in. Now we're 13 years in. So I think that for me, it's just become easy. But I know for me, it's different than him, coming from another country and having very little, and then having, being super blessed and having a comfortable life. Whereas, I've already lived here most of my life. And so, yeah, I guess the most nervous part is how my girls are going to kind of react to all this, and doing missions as a family is very different than doing it as a single. So
sure. Yeah. Have you guys involved your kids in the process of, like, obviously you've involved them, I mean they're coming, but like how have you worked to involve them? Like, have you talked with them about the changes that they'll make, the sacrifices, those kinds of things?
Yeah, I think Juan is very good, like just because of his background of just kind of bringing them reality, just on a day-to-day basis, even before we got this of, the rest of the world doesn't live like we live. The rest of the world doesn't have what we have, and trying to, hey, aren't you going to be thankful that that you're blessed, you have these things, and just setting them up. One of the things we were able to do last year is we led a team from our church in our area to El Salvador, and we actually brought our girls on the trip because we were already praying about doing this. We wanted them to see, they'd been to Nicaragua, but we wanted them to see El Salvador and what King's Castle looked like there, so that they could kind of know this is what it means, this is part of what it's about, so they're not like completely lost stepping out of a plane someplace where they don't speak the language and don't know anybody. So
it's a good idea.
Yeah.
So I want to go back to the nervous part because because I know there's people watching, and we want to welcome you if you're just joining us to Coffee with a Missionary. We're talking with Juan and Tracy Orosco. They're going to El Salvador. as missionaries, and we're talking about, are they nervous to make this move right now? And first of all, I want to say thanks to Darren White for joining us. He says, I like iTunes, which is great while he's driving his semi. Awesome, Darren. Then we got our good friend, David Anyanu. Hey, Dave,
Hi,
shout
David.
out. Thanks for tuning in. And another wonderful Mexican missionary, Dwayne Martin, says, hola todo. Gracias, Dwayne. Thank you. But we, if you're watching this and you have to face things certainly that are nervous, life moves that can cause you to be a little worried. And Juan and Tracy, I thought it was so awesome. Just Juan, as you started off to say, yeah, I am a little nervous about this, giving up, just recognizing, wow, the things that I have to give up, and recognizing that, hey, this is a big deal. And so how would you encourage someone who's maybe walking and right now and they're in a situation where they feel they need to step out, or they feel like, God's calling them to do something, but they're nervous about that. And they're saying, why am I so nervous? And if I really loved God, wouldn't I just do it? And all that stuff. How can you speak to that?
I would say, because my background is different, I would say, from the United States. I would say for me, it was not hard to give it up. I still think about it, and I'm like, man, I have to live by faith now, huh? Like I used to be when I was in my homeland. But I would say, because I have faith in God, a lot of faith in God, and I know that when He calls you, He doesn't make mistakes, and I know that when He put you in His ministry, He's gonna use you no matter what kind of person you are, no matter how smart you are, no matter what kind of financial situation you have. It doesn't matter for Him. You are His instrument.
His instrument, yeah.
So He's gonna use it no matter what. So that's what I put myself on, and God, and I'm like, okay, God, if you are calling me to do this, and I'm gonna be used by you, why not? I'll take it. So,
Amen.
So I would say they just let God guide you. That's all I would say. Let's speak to God, talk to Him, and pray about it, and let Him know that you are willing to give it up, but you want a sign from Him. So
yeah. And Tracy, do you have anything to add to that, or?
No, I think that's really what it is. Knowing that you have that call, and I think, when you have the days of no one's returning my calls when you're trying to raise support, or you're just doubting because you're like right now for us, like we're still living our life that we would have even if we weren't going into mission, because we're still working, we're missionary associates, so we still work our normal jobs and we go about our normal life, and we support raise on. It's not like we're support raising on the side, kind of, but not really.
Side hustle.
After work. And so having that mind shift, I understand it's very difficult sometimes when you've had a hard day and you're still absorbed in whatever your job is, your school, whatever's going on with your family. But to know that, God's in control, and who am I to tell Him, like, no, this isn't happening. When, He's in control anyways. And if He's gonna, what the Bible says, His eyes on the sparrows. So if He's going to worry about where the animals are going to eat and where these things are going to come from, like He's going to worry about me. Like I'm made in His image, So that's just He's going to care for me. And so you just kind of have the faith to keep going and know that He's in control. So there's no fear.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm about to cry. So you were just preaching over there, both of you guys. But no, I think that, what you guys just said is so true. And we have the tendency to just overcomplicate things. Mm-hmm. But the truth of the matter is like, if God called you, like you said, Juan, He's going to fulfill it. He's going to guide you. He's going to lead you, and He's going to care for you. And it's really just that simple. And we just have to get involved, don't we? And worry and do things. And it's like, just stop. So yeah, thanks for those words.
financial person. So let me tell you, I'm the one who's like, what are we going to do at the house? What are we going to do?
Oh, yeah.
That's my like background mind. And Juan's like, it's going to be fine. Like,
the two journeys of faith colliding. Yeah, that could be a whole other thing. Well, we do want to thank you, Edgar and Erica Flores, for from Gainesville, Georgia, saying hi. God bless you as well. Thanks for joining in. Dwayne Martin asked a great question here. Dwayne said, and maybe you guys can speak to this just a little bit, but how have your parents adjusted to the idea of you living overseas? Now, of course, it's going to be different for Juan and for you, Tracy. But what would you guys have to speak to that?
I would speak for her parents. My parents don't mind, I would say.
He'll be closer to home, so it's good for him.
For them, but for her parents, it's hard because, you know, they raise our kids pretty much every day. Her mom comes to our house and takes care of our daughters and stuff because we work. So she takes care of them, and her father is really in touch with them too. So in the beginning, they were kind of a little bit like,
are you sure? My mom keeps asking, like, you've prayed about this, like, you're sure, just keep praying. Like, are you sure? And but the nice thing I will say about my parents is my parents are both immigrants. So they've traveled. They're not like people who are scared to travel. They've both been to El Salvador at least 4 or 5 times each.
Oh, wow.
So
okay.
They're coming down on a trip or this, like, that's totally going to happen. They're already like, if you go in August and you'll be in Costa Rica, like, we're doing Christmas in Costa Rica. And I'm like, I don't know where we're going to be for Christmas. Please don't make plans. So that's my dad. So yeah. But yeah, they're definitely going to miss the kids. Yeah, I think that's probably going to be the hardest thing. And I'm super close to my parents. Like Juan was saying, my mom has been at my house almost every day since Bella's, she'll be 12 this summer. So since she's been born, 6 weeks old, my mom has taken care of my daughter, and like, you know, when they were babies and like going to school, getting them on the bus. And so, yeah, it's going to be an adjustment for sure.
Yeah. And for your girls, you know?
Yeah.
Grandma.
I know. They're like, we're going to get iPads so we can FaceTime. Like, you got to teach them how to FaceTime first because they don't really know that.
Awesome. Now, Juan, I do have another question for you, though. How attached are you to your hat?
I was just
now, don't get me wrong. I'm a Yankees fan, but we do have a comment from someone who clearly is not. And so I'm just wondering. Now,
I would say, listen, growing up, I was a Atlanta Braves fan growing up because my father is a baseball player. I never liked baseball growing up to play it, just to watch it. The playoff, but my father grew up playing baseball, so he was fan of the Yankees. I was fan of the Braves. But when I came to the United States, I don't know, I just get in touch with the Yankees and I started getting Yankees
hats. Horrible. Like,
your eyes not even open to the truth. So, I'm with you, man. I'm just saying, but
Adam and Melissa, a tweet. They were on Coffee with Missionary a couple weeks ago or last month. So they're doing baseball in Dominican Republic. Exciting! Thanks for joining us, guys. If you're just joining the video, we want to welcome you to Coffee with a Missionary. We're talking with Juan and Tracy Orosco, and they are headed to El Salvador, and we're talking about stepping into your calling. But we just want to encourage you, comment where you're watching from. We'd love to have your questions, as you've already done. We also encourage you to like this video and to share it so that others can see and hear the conversation that you get to be a part of. Also, if you're watching this on the replay, want to encourage you to contact or comment in, and we'll hopefully be able to get to those and respond to them as well. No?
Yeah. All right. Next question. Sorry, guys. I lost my little thing here. What excites you guys about moving to El Salvador and being involved with King's Castle's ministry?
I'll go first. I love the people of El Salvador. From when I went there on my first trip, I was a junior in college. It was right after some really bad earthquakes that they had there. And we took in 1 month, had a team of about 15, 20 people from our church, 1 month of planning to go on this disaster relief trip. And at the end of the week, I told my dad, who was on the trip, I was like, I'm not going back. I'm staying here. These people need me. This is my heart. This is what I want to do. And he's like, it's your last semester of your junior year in college. You're going back and you're going to finish that. But when you're done, if you want to go to Bible school or you want to do whatever, then we could talk about it. And, I graduated college, and within a year, less than a year and a half after that, I was back in El Salvador. And wow. I just love the people. I love the ministry of King's Castle. They do so many things to reach the people of the country of El Salvador. And not only there, but I love that their ministry now is sending missionaries around the world. That's so important. They're not just, they're worried about the people in the church, the local communities, the country of El Salvador. They've expanded, and now King's Castle's in, over 29 countries in the world. And so they're discipling children and youth, which is the next generation. I don't know, what's more exciting.
Yeah.
Awesome. Everything that you do, it's exciting. So I don't know. What's exciting for you?
Me encanta Salvador. Yeah, I would say that I was there for almost 2 years, so I got in love with the ministry. I love what they do, working with kids. I think they prepare the next generation coming. So there's a good way to move on without thinking about how to convert these people who is already I would say 15, 20 years old. If you can start when they are 5, 6, 8 years old. So I think it's a good strategy. So I would say that I loved it. And I love that we can work outside in the streets and do a lot of things on the streets, and we don't worry about somebody complaining about the noise, about any kind of distraction. So I just like to serve the Lord. That's all I would say. That I like to serve, and I like to do whatever it takes. All people to know Jesus.
Yeah. Well, you got me excited to go. I'm not even going, but that sounds awesome. Yeah, we have a really good question down here from Frank Sanders. He says, as a full-time missionary team, do you find that the experience draws you closer together as a couple?
Right now, I think so. We have to work together because we're both working full-time. The fundraising, the support raising, the contacts, reaching out to people, doing letters and even getting, our kids involved in parts of that. I think so. It's time that, what would we have been doing if we weren't focused on this? Who knows? Sometimes you have those days where you're just okay, you're on that couch, I'm over here doing my own thing, but this, you're having to be together. We're having, we're sitting here doing this interview together, and then after this, we're having a call with somebody. So, we're just spending a lot more time together. I think so. And if you don't work together, you're not going to get very far. So, it draws you closer because you have to work together.
Yeah, I think being a missionary is like a teamwork. And also, it's kind of I would say it's kind of like singing a song. Both of us have to know the song. So if you're going to be in a church, we got to know what to talk about. She got to know what she's going to talk about. I got to know what I'm going to talk about, because sometimes, the person's going to ask her a question and she's going to answer the question. So it can be the next myself. I have to explain myself to the church also. So we got to be in the same you know what I'm saying? Yeah.
That's a really good example of a song.
I love that. Yeah, because we're both musicians as well, and if you have a team of musicians or even just more than one person singing, if they're going to try to harmonize and you don't know the song, if you're going to try to play chords or
Let's just
rhythm
say
and you
things
don't
get
know the song,
awkward.
it's not going to sound very good, and no one's going to want to listen. So,
Speaking of singing a song.
speaking of things, Mel's going to have to excuse herself because our little 11-month-old decided to
singing
cry.
his own song. So hopefully I'll be back soon.
But thank you, Frank, for that insightful question. We really appreciate that. And if you're just joining us and you have any questions similar to that, or if you just want to interact with Juan and Tracy, this is a wonderful opportunity. Just hear about anything that's going on in their daily lives as they step into their calling to El Salvador. So before we move on to the next question, though, I do want to say, you mentioned that you have, for 13 years now, you've been in the U.S., and as you're transitioning to El Salvador, looking back, what have you found really that has energized and excited you just throughout your daily life in the past 13 years here in the U.S.?
Obviously for 13 years, it's, our life, we're, finally together for a year living in separate countries. And then also, we have 2 daughters, which is super exciting, and just seeing them grow and how they love Jesus and how, we're discipling them, as the next generation. And then I think just we got plugged into an amazing church about 8 years ago. And we came on as the children's directors, and we served there for 4 years. And it was just exciting to be back in children's ministry and to be doing what we love, what we knew we had been, we're called to do, to work with children. And it was just kind of cool. And then when our pastor was like, hey, listen, you guys probably need to take a little bit of a break. We had been both working full time, doing children's ministry on Sundays, never had a Sunday where we called off or couldn't make it. It was us every Sunday for 4 years. And she's like, just take a rest. And I think that shift kind of even helped us to kind of step back, reevaluate, and then push us into the next step. But I think it was just exciting. The church we're in is an amazing missions church. So missions was always at the forefront of our minds. And it kind of almost makes stepping into this, and being sent out from our church, in this amazing experience, I think, for me. So.
Yeah, I mean, for me was a challenge when I came to the United States because I didn't know the language. I didn't know how to speak English. So it was hard for me to go to a church, especially when we were working for a youth pastor in a church, helping him. And sometimes we saw kids that sometimes they need prayer or something like that. And I have the chance to go and speak to him, and I didn't know how to explain myself, how to encourage him. And I have a hard time. So that pushed me even hard to go and try to learn better, to
Right.
to understand better the language. So that pushed me a lot. So now that I know, I would say 70% more, I feel like I can talk to a person and explain the person about what God wanted and for his future, what God is planning for his future, and I can let him know what the love of the Lord is for him. So
wow. That's amazing. Yeah, that's incredible, and that's a process, that you just explained, the process of learning how to explain yourself and even just explain the gospel, or how God can minister to the life of a student or even a child in a different language. That's a process that most people never ever go through. So as most missionaries go through that process, but other than that, most people don't. So you have a leg up that you've lived that before you even stepped into this full-time mission assignment. So that's really great. We have another comment here from Kristen Castro. She says she's excited to have you back in El Salvador and hope to reconnect there. So thanks for your comment, Kristen. And so now I want to talk a little bit about learning a new culture and what that means for each member of your family. And I would imagine it's different for each of you, and then also for your girls, what that would mean. So talk a little bit about that.
My daughter, the oldest, she was excited from the beginning, but suddenly she started thinking about her friends. So she started thinking about my friend. Do I gonna be able to see her? Do I gonna be able to talk to her? So she's kind of like in that time where, you know, teenager, where they got a group of girls together and they wanna be friends forever. You know what I'm saying? So she's kind of, sometimes she's on and off about the situation of going to El Salvador for many years and not being able to see her friends and stuff like that. And we trying to explain her that she got to understand that sometimes God want to use different paths to teach her in your life, that He want to guide you a different way, but doesn't mean that you're going to lose the friendship of that person. If that person is your friend, it's going to be your friend forever, no matter where you are. So we're trying to encourage her that being used by God doesn't mean that you're going to lose all your friends and stuff like that. So my other daughter, she's all in. It's like, let's go tomorrow.
Okay.
But,
The one who was on before we started, like dancing in front of the camera, that one, she's all in.
yeah, but we try almost kind of like every time she asks about something, we try to encourage her that everything's going to be okay. Everything is going to be fine. You're going to be okay. The only thing I would say is going to be hard for you maybe is to understand the other kids from other culture, other language, but you're going to learn it. You're still a kid and you're going to learn it. So look at me.
Yeah. So I know as far as a new culture or just changes in their life, you know, we've always because we always knew that, you know, God, somewhere in the back of our minds, even when we were lost chasing the American dream or whatever, you know, was happening this time of God having us here for longer than we thought. We always involved our kids in ministry. If there was an outreach, we took our kids with us. If there was something going on, we took our kids with us so they would know what that means. So the culture of like going from, I would say like having a secular career kind of life and being students and moving into a full-time ministry missions experience, it's something that, not that it won't be easy, but we've tried to give them experiences that they'll understand what that means, and they'll be able to understand to take those steps. So it's not like we're already going to have enough with the culture, but here's another part of, okay, I get that. I get what ministry is. I know what that is. Oh yeah, we did that before. So we tried to kind of make sure that at least part of it would be easier, you could say.
Yeah.
You know, both my parents are immigrants. Juan's an immigrant. So like that part of, they know that different cultures, they understand people don't all speak the same languages. We go to my mom's house and if her brothers and sisters are around, I mean, there could be 3-4 languages going around the table. And so they've been in scenarios where, you know, they don't understand the language and how to react to that. Or when we go to visit Juan's family, you know, they've had those and how to make the baby steps of, okay, how do I say this word? What does this mean? How do I, so, you know, being able to do that. Yeah. So hopefully make that easier for them. For me, since I lived there, I mean, it'll be the biggest transition will be doing missions in a different culture as a family versus as a single, because I feel like as a single, if you need to, like, you're having a moment of culture shock, you're like, okay, fine, I'm going to my room, I'm cool, like, let me just pray, breathe in, breathe out, you know, you can work through it. But with a family, you're like, okay, if I'm going through that, that means my kids and both my daughter, my husband, like, we're all so it's just a little bit more escalated, I could say.
Right.
But I think that we're ready. You know, I've kept in contact with a lot of friends in El Salvador through the years, knowing that this was a possibility. So hopefully those friendships will be able to help us have a family network kind of there to make some of the cultural changes easier. So.
Yeah.
Other thing that is probably going to be hard for them is food. You know, food is different in other countries. So my daughter, when we took them to El Salvador, the beginning of last year, they didn't like the food. They were eating stuff from the store, like what is called that?
Like ramen soup. Like that's what they like, which they would never eat at home. Like the container with the thing, they would never eat that at home, you know. But they like that. They did like rice and beans. That was like one of their things, which I'm like, fine, it's gonna be all over. So, which they eat that all the time, anyways. Here, so yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that you touched on so many incredible things, and then thank you for answering that question, because it does give insight, and you know, just from my perspective, it seems like God has positioned your guys' entire lives to really to thrive in going cross culturally to some place like El Salvador, especially for your girls. You know, being around family where they understand. Just that simple understanding. Not everyone speaks my language. Not everyone has my same background. I can't communicate with everyone. You know, most Americans, I would say, grow up knowing only one language and only speaking one language at home and amongst their family. And so even that experience for your girls sets them apart, and all the different experiences you guys had. So it's really exciting. I do want to get to a question that Alexa Ray had. Alexa says, "Hey, watching from Jersey. Yay, Jersey. All right." She said, "My question is, how did the Lord lead you into missions individually?" Sorry if you already explained this. So thank you for Alexa. So you did mention kind of briefly, but maybe each of you take a moment or two and kind of expound on that. Okay, when did you sense that missions was something that God had for you personally?
That is a pretty cool story, just like how he ended up in King's Castle, which I think is a pretty interesting story about that girl. So that whole boot camp thing.
For me, it was kind of like I always call it by mistake. I got into the ministry.
Okay.
I remember that I only had like 7 months in the church, right? And I became friends with this group of youth. They were working for King's Castle too over there, and I never did anything with King's Castle. I didn't know anything about King's Castle, right? And this girls, friend of mine, they came and they said, "Hey, there is something going on in this camp, and we want to go, but the only way we can go if somebody older than us can go with us." Mm-hmm. And they asked me, I want to go, and I said, well, I don't really want to go. I said, because I don't even know what it's about. I've never been in King's Castle, so I don't even know what it is about. Mm-hmm. So and they said to me, come on, help us out here. And I said, okay, this time I will do it because of you guys. I want to help you guys out, and I know you love this ministry. So it passed 1 week, and the week after, they supposed to pick us up. So I remember in the morning they came to my house saying, "Oh, we cannot go." And I said, "What do you mean? We cannot go because my father doesn't want me to go, and she is my other friend. She is sick. She don't feel good, and she not be able to go either." And she said, "Why you don't go by yourself?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about? I don't want to go by myself." I said, "Come on, somebody has to show up. He was gonna come and pick somebody up. So why you don't go?" And I say, "Okay, I'll do it, but you're gonna pay for this, all right? That's not nice what you're doing right now." So and I said, "Okay, I'll go." So I went over there, and I stayed in the camp for the week. I loved it. I feel that God had a purpose in my life. I don't even know why me. I don't even know why He chose me. Wow. I saw a lot of people there in the camp. They were really in love to go and do missions in the ministry. Wow. But I don't know. There was only 4 of us who were choose to go and do this, and I was one of them. And wow. I say, God, why me? I don't even know nothing about this ministry. I never did anything in the street. I never had a microphone in my hands. I never spoke in public. I never say. And church, I only have 7 months in church. Before that, I wasn't even at church yet. So I don't know what is your plan with me, but I know I'm going to be used by you because you are already preparing myself for this. So I went to the ministry, and I stayed. I loved it, and I served for the ministry for almost 3 years before I came here. So God always has a purpose in your life, no matter where you come from. If you are an instrument, He's going to use you no matter where you are or who you are.
Wow.
So.
Wow, amazing.
I love that story because it's like the by mistake, but God knew, you know, kind of thing where I think sometimes, as your wife was saying earlier, like we want to overcomplicate things. And God's like, no, it's really simple. Like, this is what I want you to do. For me, being called to missions, I just can't imagine my life, I guess, without missions. So like when missionaries, when I was a kid, they would come to my church, I was like, that's what I want to do. That's what I want to do. And I went on my first missions trip when I was like 15. It was like the summer I turned 16. And I like found I don't even know if it was, I don't even think there was internet back then. So I was going to say like through like a magazine or something, like missions trip organizations. And I like found one and made contact and like didn't go with my youth group, like just went as a single, flew to Miami, met up with like randoms and became a team. And we went to Venezuela, which if you think about going to Venezuela now, you're like, you're crazy. I would never let my 15-year-old go there. But yeah, like, so I fell in love with missions, you know, from a young age and then doing that. And then when I, like I said before, you know, when I was on that trip to El Salvador, it was just kind of like my heart felt home in El Salvador. And even when we went back last January, it just feels like home. Like the church that we were there, it's part of my family. And, you know, I love the people there. And it's kind of like you just feel settled. Like, you know what I mean? It doesn't mean it's easy. It doesn't mean it's easy. You just know like there's peace and God will give you peace. And so that's just what I felt for me and for us that, okay, there's peace in this of stepping out. And yeah, you have moments where you're like, my boss is going to think I'm crazy when I tell them I'm leaving. So my work doesn't know. But it's just, you know, you just know that this is what it is. And you know that the call is there. And God has, you know, set my life up and our lives together to obey Him and be obedient to this call.
Wow. Well, thank you so much. And Alexa, I hope that encouraged you and helped you out there. Alona Hattinger says the Oroscos are an amazing family. Thank you, Alona. And we also just got a comment from Jim Elliott. He says Tracy Orosco is the real deal. I served with her when she was interning there back in the day. Wow. Thank you, Jim, for the encouragement. And we also have Georgina Gamez says, estamos esperándolos. All right. I'm waiting for you. Waiting for you to get there. It's exciting. And thanks for your comment. Alexa says, amen. So beautiful. Thank you for answering. Thank you for asking the question, Alexis. So we want to kind of talk about your daily life in El Salvador a little bit. What will your weekly interaction look like between Americans and Salvadorians? And just to set that up, you know, King's Castle Ministries hosts a lot of American mission teams and does a lot of missions all over. And so I would imagine that it's a constant influx of teams of Americans and interacting with them, as well as outreaches, and you're interacting with Salvadorians, and then people from different countries are coming on mission. So what do you think your week looks like between English and Spanish?
Juan will like love being able to speak Spanish so much more than we do at home. For sure. I think we're super excited to just, you know, help out with teams, and it's hard to say what our week will be like, because as anyone who's done missions, even a missions trip or a project serving on like one day where you serve somewhere, like here's the plan, and you're like, be flexible because you never know. Is kind of how that turns out. But I'm super excited because I love like when people go on their like first missions trip and just having to see how their eyes and their heart and how they think about life is just so different. It just opens up, and you know, yes, God uses them, and God uses them to bless people and to serve the people of El Salvador, whatever country they go to. But to know how much they take back of being impacted through that obedience of coming on the trip. I'm excited, like when we do help host teams, or we have youth, or whatever we're doing, just to see that. I see videos of sometimes the Salvadoran. They have like mini Master's Commission kids, or they have Guardians of the Vision, who are like spirit-filled kids who go out and do these amazing mission trips. Like, just to hear the stories of how God impacts their lives and uses them. So we'll be speaking Spanish, we'll be speaking English, I'm sure we'll be like self-translating all the time, since we're, pretty bilingual. So I think that as far as Spanish, we'll be using it all the time. So I don't know. How do you think your week will be like?
Because I was there and I lived there. I grew up there. I know that over there it's not going to be time off. It's going to be always something to do. So you just got to be flexible and willing to do whatever it takes. Whatever they tell you to do, you go and do it. I was there, and I know sometimes you go home by 10 o'clock p.m. and you're exhausted because you give everything you had. And that's not because they pushing you to do it. It's because you are doing it with passion, and you are doing it because you love the ministry. So when you do it like that, doesn't matter how exhausted you are. You know that the next day you're going to wake up with more energy again, and you're going to keep doing it again. So it's not going to be time off. It's like one pastor that he said, my time off is going to be in heaven. So go with it. So that's flexibility. That's all I would say.
Yeah.
So whatever it may be, Juan has a construction background. So, construction teams, he'll be working with them, hosting them. He'll be exhausted because, working construction is one thing, but hosting a team where you're translating, trying to help people get stuff, trying to teach them how to do things that they may never have done before, all of that is just so much more difficult on another level. It just takes the average workday like up a couple notches. And then whether helping teach English in the Bible school, or working in the administrative offices, or helping Carrie in the office somehow with books and things like the administrative side, there's always going to be something. And then obviously the ministry hosts trainings, it has a church, there's classes, discipleship, there's things to do all the time. So it will be English and Spanish all the time.
Yeah. Wow. We have some comments, and Jim Elliott just commented, said, "Amen, Juan, pour out yourself like a drink offering." Amen. That's exactly what you'll be doing. And also he asked you, Tracy, are you excited to get back to El Salvador cuisine?
Yeah, I love pupusas.
Yes, pupusas, yes.
And they're really good. I will tell you that. The place in Cleveland is when Michelle Wellborn was visiting, we went there. She's like, "This is good pupusas, like for being in the States." But Juan doesn't care for it because they make like corn, like the corn tortillas, the corn dough. He likes the rice flour, which is only found in certain places in El Salvador. And so he's excited to be able to get his kind of pupusa there. So I'm excited about eating pupusas, definitely.
That's awesome. And Darren White asks, what is your favorite Spanish language worship song?
That's a bunch.
Yeah, it's hard to narrow.
I like almost all the worship songs.
There's one, I can't think of the name of it, but it talks about there's no one tan grande. No hay Dios tan grande. Like there's no God who's as big. It's just awesome. And we sometimes play that at home, and it's really cool because like our kids don't really know Spanish, but Natasha, our youngest, like she hears stuff and memorizes things she hears super fast. and she like sings along for like parts of the song. So it's really cool. We really love that song as a family. So
one song that I love a lot is the song is called Digno.
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 Oh, sorry, what is it?
It's Digno, Digno. So worthy.
There's one that's one of my favorite songs. It's by Marcus Brunet.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, so look that up, Darren, on YouTube or wherever you find your music, iTunes there. Thank you for your question, Darren. We appreciate that. Mel, welcome back.
Thank you. It's so bright out here.
Our little baby finally did go to sleep, so that's always great. Well, as we kind of near towards the end here, our last question is going to focus on success and disappointment. And you know, as you look at your first term, 3-4 years in El Salvador, as missionaries, or I guess as missionary associates, maybe it's 1 or 2, 2. Okay, but as you look at your first term, you know, what to you is going to be success in your first term?
I don't know. For me, I say success that I'm gonna be able to experience God over there, and be able to feel like I'm doing something that He want me to do. You know what I'm saying? Like something that I'm gonna feel peace in the end. That I'm not doing this for emotion. I'm not doing this because somebody's pushing me to do it. No, I'm doing it because He telling me to do it, and I wanna feel that peace from God. That I'm doing the right thing. That I'm not wrong. That I'm not in the wrong spot in that moment. And the end of the day, finishing in 2 years and in this term, I want to be like excited to the next. What is next?
Yeah.
Because right now is a time where how it's going to be, what exactly is going to be our job, and what God wants us to be, what God wants us to be used by, you know. But when we finish this term, I want to see, like, I want to be excited, like, what is next, God? Where we're going to go now? We're going to come back here? You want us to go back to the States? Or you want us to be to go to another country? Yeah.
Continue on, you know, just to know what, you know, I think success will be knowing His will for the next step of our lives. You know, it's kind of hard to measure, because when you're following the call of God, like what we think of as success as humans is not how God evaluates that. And so it's kind of hard to, you know, put that in something that's measurable. You know, in the corporate world, we always want to have deliverables to know, like, I did this and I did this, and that doesn't have deliverables. It's, you were obedient, people got saved, they now know me, you know, and that's it. And you can't always measure that when you're in missions, because that fruit might not come for a long time, or you might get to see it while you're there. You never know. So it's just being obedient and knowing that at the end of the 2 years, you know, having that peace, like Juan said, that we did what we were called to do, and we were obedient to the task that God asked us to do on a moment by moment, daily basis.
Yeah, that's good. And I think that's such a key thing. Like, I like that phrase. I've never worked in the corporate world before, but deliverables, you know, it's just so true that God just doesn't work like that. And I just love both of your hearts, just that you want to be obedient. And that's, we can hear that in your words. Like, that's what success looks like. And that's really what it is, to know that you're following Jesus, and wherever He leads, you walk. And, you know, even like you said, like, you're obedient, you see people saved, and then you go on, and it's like, well, sometimes you don't always even see them saved. You just know that you're being obedient, and you plant the seeds, and that has to, your relationship with Jesus has to be enough that's the success, you know. And that's, yeah, I'm just reiterating everything you said. I should just stop talking. What might be disappointing in your first term, not to like Debbie Downer the situation, but just, you know, what would personally be like, that's a bummer, or, you know.
We were kind of talking about that the other day, and I think for us, just because we feel like, you know, everything's a step. Us taking our family on the mission, you know, going on a mission trip again, taking our kids on it was it like the next puzzle piece, the next step. Doing this assignment for 2 years was the next step. It would kind of be disappointing if like we get to the end, God's like, all right, I want you to go back to the States and like go back to your job. Like to me, that would be disappointing. But you know, unless there's like do that while you're doing this or that, and there'd have to be, you know what I mean? But you know, we're really expected to like see like, okay, we're doing this 2-year term. Do we end up extending and staying longer and serving the ministry for a longer period of time? Do we go to another country? Do we go full time somewhere else? You know, and just being open to that. But it'd be just the point, you know, just because we both have a heart and a love for missions to like, be like, yeah, you're good. I guess that would be disappointing.
Yeah, I can resonate with that.
Yeah, I would say the same thing. But one of the things that I would say I would be disappointing for me is if my kids don't speak Spanish by the end of 2 years.
Amen. Amen. Come on. Vamos, let's do it. Come on.
I want them to come here and say all Spanish, no English at all at home.
All right.
All
Wow, you have high expectations about that one.
You never know. You gotta believe it.
That's amazing.
That's amazing. Well, Alona asks a wonderful question. She asks, and thank you if you're still with us or you're just joining us on Coffee with a Missionary. We're almost finished with our conversation here. If you didn't get a chance to check out the whole video, it'll be available in the videos section of the LAC World Missions page, so you can rewatch the whole thing, interact with it. But Alona asks, how can people send you? I'm sure you love that question.
We do. We love Alona. Always asking the good questions. So if you can email us, and I think you're going to provide our contact information later on, you can find me on Facebook under Tracy Orosco. And then we have Orosco's on a Mission is our kind of like, here's where we're at, what's going on in our daily life, updates. Hey, you want to sign up for a newsletter? That kind of stuff is Orosco's on a Mission on both Facebook and Instagram. And then if you go to the Assemblies of God missions directory, put in Orosco, El Salvador, we'll pop up. We are pretty booked for March service-wise, but we Wednesday nights, April and May are really free. We'll love to talk to youth. I love putting a passion in kids and youth for missions. It's not just about adults who have full-time jobs that can give money. It's really about what is your heart and that the world needs Jesus, and sharing that with, you know, your kids ministry, your youth ministry, whatever it is. You know, we're here to serve and, you know, get that passion going in your congregations. But yeah, contact us and we'll let you know how you can help send us.
Awesome.
Very awesome. Well, we just want to thank you guys once again for taking the time, Juan and Tracy, and we're so excited for what God has for you in El Salvador. I want to thank the fellow missionaries who've been joining us on this video, who've been watching, and feel free to send your encouragement their way as they're just starting out on this missions journey. And our last comment here is from your friend Jim Elliott, who says, immersion in the language will definitely help with learning Spanish. Amen to that. So Juan is hoping that that your entire lives will just be in an immersion of Spanish.
Oh, you gotta understand this too. That in heaven we only speak Spanish. So
it's the heavenly language, right?
So you guys gotta learn Spanish. You know, to be able to communicate. I've heard that before. I've heard that, you know, they'll speak Spanish in heaven. So I've heard it, and I don't know if this means anything, but I've heard it from people who have Spanish as a first language. I don't know if that means anything.
No, but they also for the Yankees in heaven, so you're good to go.
We're all set up.
Well, thank you once again, guys, and we will see you next time on Coffee with the Missionary.
Thanks,
God bless.
guys. Bye.
I appreciate it, guys. Thank you.